All right. So how do I know I have 4 spaces behind my decimal in this case? Let's go back to the first one, right? We go back to the first one. We have 1 divided by 10, and you told me the answer was 0.1, 1 space behind, right? Then we have 1 divided by 100 equals, and I am saying it's 0. Or 0 decimal, and I am saying I'm going to have 2 spaces behind. Then I have 1 divided by 1000, and I'm stating that it's going to be 0 decimal, and I'm going to have 3 spaces behind. Now I have 1 divided by 10 thousandths, and you said I will have 0 decimal, and I should have 4 spaces behind the decimal. How do we know that? Can you think about it? How do we know that? You say it's based on the number of zeros in a number? There are 4 zeros in this number right here. You're saying 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros here, right? But what about with the 1000? How many zeros are there? 1, 2, 3. You can't see my highlighter, can you? You can see the yellow highlight? Oh, good. All right. So, and then in the 100, say that again. Oh, really? Oh, that's good. I'm glad you can see it then. So when we had 100, we had 1, 2, and then the 10 we had 1, right? So if in the first place, when we do the division of 10 divided by 1 divided by 10, we have 0 decimal 1. So where is the position of the 1 in 1 divided by 100? Where would the position of 1 be? Oh, so you're saying the 1 would be here then. Can you see that 1 I drew there? Okay, and the 0 will be right after, right? So 0 will be here. So then I go back and my 1 will be now where in the for the thousands? 1, 2, 3 spaces. So my 1 will be here on the 3rd space. And on this one, my 1 will be in what space? On the 4th space. So I can come in and just fill in my zeros, right? In fact, I'm going to change my color here. I'll put my 0 there. 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so what do you think is happening? Mm-hmm. Okay, so every time we move up a number, which number, the numerator or the denominator? So every time I move up in the value of the denominator, it's like going from 10 to 100 to 1000, the placement of. So are these numbers getting smaller or larger when I'm going in this direction? So which is the largest number here? 1 divided by 10 thousandths or 1 divided by 10? Which is the largest? That's correct, 1 divided by 10. Because if we want to look at this as if it were money in a sense, let's try to look at this as if it were money. How much money do we have here? This is like what? 10 cents? This is 1 cent. right? This is less than 1 cent, less than. So the largest, we're going from, this is the largest, and this one is the least, right? Okay, so that's how we do a conversion from fractions to decimals. But what we're not actually doing here, what we're doing here is actually what called division, right? We're actually doing division. We're actually doing division. So if I were to take and draw a division symbol, can you see my division symbol? My dividend will be 10. I'm sorry, will my dividend be 10 or 1? Am I doing that right? 1. 1. And my divisor is going to be the what? 10, right? Yes, so my divisor will be 10. And I'm saying, what's 1 divided by 10? 10 cannot go into 1. We know that, right? Because 10 is greater than 1. So I want to figure out what is going to be in decimal form. So now that I'm going to add a decimal here and a 0. And I must also bring that decimal straight up. Okay, I must also bring that decimal straight up there so that I can and now what do? I have 10 divided by, now I have a 10 as well, okay? Can you see that now I have 10? And 10 can go into 10 how many times? 1. That's what we're doing. It's division. Sometimes you can see it easily and place your decimal in the right place, or sometimes you have to work in it. When the numbers are 1 and 10, it's easier. But what if I give you the fraction 2/5? And you have to change it to a decimal. $2.5. How did you get 2.5? Why, are you guessing or are you really thinking this through? So let's set it up like we did the division before. Okay? Let's set up the division. Where will the 5 go? Inside or outside? The 5 is our denominator, and it should go where? As the, yes, that's our divisor. And 2 is our numerator, and it is our dividend. And our dividend is the number being divided by our denominator. Can 2 be divided by 5? So we put a 0 here. But we're not going to stop just because of that. We want to continue. We know our number is going to be small. So now we're going to put in a decimal. There's no whole number involved here. We put in a decimal. And we add a what? 0, right? So now we want to know, can 20 be divided by 5? Mm-hmm. Yes. And how many times will it be divided by 5? That's right, 4. And then what do we say? We do 4 times 5. What's 4 times 5? Correct. And 4 times 5 equals 20, which we're going to put here. And we subtract it from 20. What's 20 subtract 20? That's right. So we have no remainder. We can stop right there. This is what they call a terminating decimal. So now we can see that 2/5, the fraction 2/5 is equal to 0.4. And how do we say this correctly? 4/10. 4/10. And we can write it and say this means 4/10, right? If only I could write 4/10. And I want you to look at 4/10 and tell me about something that we learned before. We have 2/5 and we have 4/10. What can we say about those two fractions? Starts with the letter E. So what type of fraction, or what do we call them? Equal? Yes, they're equal, but there's another word we use. What is it? That's correct. Equivalent fractions. They are equivalent. Equivalent fractions. If only I could write the word equivalent. Grandma was so right when she talked about my handwriting. So I'm going to stop trying to write that word. They're equivalent fractions. That is correct. Does it make sense how we go from fractions to decimals? And later on, we'll go from fractions. We're going to do fractions to decimals to percents. But right now, I just want to show you how it also gets back to showing us equivalent fractions based on us taking that fraction and making it a decimal. And in the same sense, and when we say the decimal correctly, we say 4/10. Tenths, TENTHS, with a TH sound. Not tens, but tenths. 4/10. That means it's behind the decimal place. Okay? All right. Let me try to stop my camera for a moment.